Hi, my name is Ron. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be about our experiences in retirement and how we ended up here in Idaho. So a little background. I grew up in the 60s and 70s in a mountain town in New Hampshire. Good place to grow up, especially back then. Um, 2 weeks out of high school, I went into the Air Force, was there for 4 years, stationed in upstate New York, working on B-52s and KC-135s. Got out in 1980, decided to go to college full time. Did that for a year, but I didn't want to live at home anymore. So I decided I need to get a job and move out of the house. So I did, and started working on cars in 1981 as an auto body tech. Uh, did that for about 7 years, and uh, back there in New Hampshire, especially in the 80s, boy, the cars rusted really bad, and that's not a good career field to be in if you don't like working on rust. So at the time, my sister had moved out to California, and I came out for a visit. And within 6 months after that, I decided to uh, leave my friends and my family and move to California. So I did, and started working at a body shop there, working on just classic 60s Mustangs, and really loved it. And back then, California was a great place to live. Still very conservative, clean. You didn't have the homeless problems. It was affordable, and I knew that was the right decision for me. I was really happy there. Be a young, good-looking guy in his early 30s, living in Southern California. Life was good. So over the next 10 or 15 years, I kept on doing the same thing. Switched to another body shop that was very very good place to work, family run, and started making decent money, and was there quite a few years. And right around 2000, one of the guys from our shop left and went to a Ferrari certified shop, and shortly after he worked there, uh, called me, says, "Oh, you got to come here. This is a great place to work." And always had a passion for exotic cars, and checked it out, but I had no intention of leaving my job because I was making good money, um, liking everybody I work with, but I thought about it, okay, I'll give it a try. And the first year I was there, I doubled my income, and it took me several years before I was trained enough to get certified for Ferrari. And finally in 2007, I got to go to Italy for the Ferrari welding training, and got back and finally was fully certified. And within a couple years, I was the lead tech there. And shortly after, the shop changed hands, and a nice family took it over, and they ran the place for about 4 years, and then they sold it again, and that was around, I think, 2011, 2012. And the new owner was very business oriented, and I figured I'll give it a try. And they really wanted to keep me on because at the time I was the only certified tech, so they really needed me there. So I gave it a go, and it was a really good decision. Very well run. Uh, you know, was making 3 times what I was making 10 years earlier. And shortly thereafter, I met my wife Barbara, and we wanted to move in together. So it was too expensive in Orange County, where the shop was, Costa Mesa. So we decided to move out. It was 75 miles away, but it was very affordable. We rented a really nice house and did that for a few years until we were ready to buy a home. But even back then, 2013, 2014, Orange County was no longer affordable on somebody at my salary. So we started looking in the San Bernardino Mountains near Big Bear Lake, and we were able to find a house half the price of what was in Orange County. So we moved there, had a great view. It was at 6,200 feet. So it was an adjustment because we got a lot of snow there. More snow than my parents got in the Rockies in Colorado, and more snow than my sister got. She had moved to Maine by this time, and you wouldn't think in Southern California you'd get a lot of snow, but we got feet at a time. But I really liked it because I grew up in the snow and I loved it. My wife wasn't too much of a fan, but we stuck it out, and when we moved in there, it was very affordable. And then after a few years, the homeowners insurance started climbing and climbing and climbing. And by 2020, it was 3 times what it was when we moved in. And then about early 23, we find out our homeowners insurance is almost as much as our mortgage. It got to be $1,000 a month, and this is not sustainable. We got to move. So we sold our house, and we did okay. We pulled out, made a profit, but we were priced out. There was no place in Southern California we could afford to buy would be a place that we'd want to live. So we both loved the mountains, so we started looking in different places, and I had a friend in Northern California. We drove up there for a long weekend and fell in love with Auburn, California. So a few months later, we moved up there, but still priced out. Couldn't afford to buy a house there, even though we had, a pretty good savings from the sale of our home, but the numbers just didn't work. So we decided to rent, and really happy there. Great place, very conservative. When you get away from the big cities, even in California, it's very conservative, like-minded people. And at the time, I thought, I'm going to try to work till 70. I was, I think, 65 at the time when we moved to Auburn, and the plan was to work till I was 70, even though I was starting to have health problems from standing on my feet 8 hours a day for over 40 years on cement. And by this time, my wife's got health problems, and she can't work anymore, so we're just living on my income. And about a year ago, we're a few months away from our lease ending. I was talking to my wife and said, if we stay in California, I can never retire. I'm going to have to work till I die. And if you told me at the time, a year later, we'd be living in another state and I'd actually be retired because before to, I wouldn't believe it. And it was a long road to get here, but when you look at everything that was against us in California, it was still hard because my wife's children were still living there, and my family had passed, and all my friends are in California because I lived in California for 37 years. But it became so hard because of the political environment in California. We knew we had to leave. So we started looking at different states, and we narrowed it down to 4 states: Nevada, around Reno, eastern part of Tennessee, the coastal part of Maine, and actually at the time, uh, the Denver area of Colorado, because my parents had lived near Colorado Springs before they passed, and we both like Colorado, but by 2025, Colorado's not a place you want to live because of the politics, and it's very expensive unless you live way out in the boonies. And when you get older, you need to be close to a hospital and everything. You don't want to have to drive an hour to go to a grocery store. So Colorado was taken off the list. We're leaning towards Tennessee, and then I thought, well, we should check out Idaho. So we started looking online about Idaho. I never really liked the Reno area, so we took Nevada off the list. That wasn't really affordable either. And Tennessee, we had to take off the list because we didn't want to experience tornadoes and the smog, not the smog, the humidity in the summertime. So we figured, well, Idaho was looking better and better, so we took a long weekend, came up to Idaho and checked out the Boise area. And as soon as we got here, we couldn't believe how clean everything was. We didn't see any homeless people. Even going to the public bathrooms at rest area, it was amazing how everything was clean and no graffiti, where everywhere you go in California, it's like that. So after 4 or 5 days, we went back home to Auburn and talked about it and decided, well, let's go up again. We went up a second time and liked it even better, and decided, we really need to consider this place. So we started looking at housing, and it looked like we could actually afford to buy a brand new house here, where for what our budget is, you couldn't even buy a travel trailer, not a travel, a mobile home in California for that price. And then you look at the mobile home parks, and some of them are over $1,000 a month just for a lot, and that's never going to go away. It's only going to go up. And we really didn't want to move into a trailer park, so the thought of being able to find a state that we could actually move to and afford was like a dream come true. So after the third trip, we actually got into contract on a brand new house, and here we are a year later. When we first moved here, I didn't think I was still going to be able to retire till I was 70, and after living here for 6 months, the numbers worked, and I was able to retire. So that's enough for this video, and I'll continue on our story in the next one. Thanks.